up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of On a Couch Talking Sport. As always, I'm Robbie. Social distancing, as always, along with Kyle. Kyle, how are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, Robbie. I'm doing fantastic. I got my Super Nintendo controller right here. I can't ask for anything more right now. This is great.
There you go. You are handling quarantine quite well.
Yes.
Please don't break your camera while doing that, though.
Know.
That would not be fun. And for the second straight episode in a row, we are joined by a special guest. This is a guy that's been a while since he's been on, but you know him from a few past episodes. Our buddy Scott is back joining us once again. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Robbie. How's it going?
Good. How is quarantine, social distancing, everything treating you?
I've gone through all of my puzzles, so I've started breaking out the old PSP, which has MLB The Show '06.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Brings back good memories of playing.
'06. Wow.
I mean, those are it's like the year right before we won again.
True, yeah. It was because 07 we won again, and yeah, 06. I don't even think we made the playoffs in 06, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah.
We had Alex Cora on the team.
That's true, yeah. We did have Alex Cora.
Surprising to look at the roster and be like, I actually know those guys. From 14 years ago.
Exactly. Well, speaking of championship teams, so as you guys probably know, if you've watched past episodes, all three of us actually, Kyle, Scott, and I, are all fans of the Cape Cod Baseball League. It's a great summer league, for college players. It's a historic league, and Kyle and I attempt to go to games every year when we can, but unfortunately this year, due to the circumstances that are going on right now, the decision was made earlier this week to cancel the 2020 Cape Cod League season, which is very disappointing, but you just got to keep moving forward. But so we wanted to do tonight, in tribute to the Cape Cod League, in honor of it, was continue our sort of little series we've been doing of reviewing past teams. And tonight we wanted to review the 2019 Cotuit Kettleers, who are the defending Cape Cod baseball champions, and also were the team that, if you watched our Cape episode last year, or last summer, I should say, we went to one of their games. And the interesting part about that is that we were actually joined at that game by Scott. So before we get into that game and sort of the championship run specific, Scott, I want to start with you. Just take us through your sort of thoughts as you look back on the 2019 Cotuit Kettleers as a whole, as someone who, has ties to that community. Just sort of take us back on your thoughts on just the season in general.
I remember at the beginning of that season, they started slow, and it was really just, are we going to make the playoffs? And then as the season goes on, they finished with a 20 and however many ties.
Four
ties. Eked into the playoffs. And then I guess they just decided, hey, we're like everybody else. You just got to win 2 games and move on to the next round. So
they were pulling off the 08 New York Giant NFL Super Bowl run very well.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's the only. That's really sad. It's the only thing I could think of at that moment.
Like,
I really
right here.
I'm immediately regretting it. Yeah.
Come on, man.
I know. What about St. Louis? All right, let's. Oh no, that's not good either.
But it was I mean, I usually try to go to as many games as I can over the summer. It's great to go with you guys because the Cape House we rented for, I don't know, 15 years was a mile up the road. Now my house is, I'm 2.5 miles up the road, but still is always fun to go to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good to see them pull it off.
Definitely. And Kyle, yeah, just your thoughts as well on, I mean, you and I and Scott, we'll get into that particular game in a moment, but just Kyle, your overall thoughts on the fact the team that we saw this past summer actually went on to win it all in the Cape League.
I mean, I could definitely tell because just so I haven't really followed the Kettleers. I didn't really like religiously follow the Cape Cod Baseball League last year, but I was kind of like in and out, like kind of checking on the season and everything and the teams here and there. But the Kettleers that season, just by looking at that one game, they dominated. I could tell that they were a really good team that year. So it's honestly not that big of a surprise to see them go that far, though, at least on my end.
Yeah, certainly. And again, the game that we went to was they played Wareham and beat Wareham 11-3 on June 29th, 2019.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that was just quite a game. Scott, I'll start with you when it comes to that particular game, but it was just quite a game because, like, yeah, they pretty much dominated Wareham. It was kind of a, I don't know. It was interesting because they would go on to face Wareham later on down the road in the playoffs, but that night they just completely dominated from what I remember. It was a game that almost didn't happen because the weather was looking iffy, but they ended up playing, which was good for the Kettleers that night.
Yeah, I mean, I think I maybe went to one other game, which they also happened to win. And yeah, I distinctly remember there were a lot of long contact hits in that game, whether they were home runs or just extra base hits. They had it working for them.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the first batter of the game for Cotuit, I remember, hit a home run or something like that, and that was kind of a sign of things to come that night. And Kyle, I know we talked about that particular game last summer, but just sort of take us back to your recollection of it because it was quite a fun night of baseball, as the Cape League always is.
Oh my God, yeah, it was quite a game. It was just, the experience was very fun. I've always liked the whole vibe of the Kettleers stadium or field. I should say, it's baseball, but it was, yeah, it's just and honestly, I really liked not just seeing them win, not just like seeing really that kind of raw talent on the field, but I also really enjoyed seeing the audience and how really into the game that they were. And you could really tell just Cotuit overall is they're very into baseball. They really like they're very positive about their team. So I think that was really another kind of positive element that added to the game as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. And when you think and sort of looking back at how the Kettleers fared in the playoffs, they actually faced Wareham again in the first round. They were the Cotuit, by the way, was the number 3 seed in the West Division, and so they had to go on the road to Wareham for the first round, and actually it went all the way to Game 3, a deciding winner-take-all Game 3 in Wareham, which Cotuit won. And so, Kyle, I want to sort of start with you on this. I mean, just talk about what it must have. I mean, obviously, we weren't in the game or anything like that, but just just what it must have been like, playing on the road in a winner-take-all game, basically your season on the line to come out with a victory. I mean, that must have been really exciting for those guys to pull it off.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they worked hard. I know we talked about how just a great season they had, and I feel like that was just their year. That was they really put all their heart and effort into it, and I think at the end of the day they deserve that win. So I'm sure they felt incredible. I'm sure that was like the best way to end the summer. So
Certainly, and Scott, I mean, the third seed in the West Division heading into the playoffs. So, I mean, they had to take down the number 2 seed. Then they had to go and beat Falmouth, who is the top seed in the West Finals, and they actually swept them. They actually won their last 5, if you count in total, their last 5 playoff games in a row, with the Game 3 win over Wareham and then 2-0 sweeps over both Falmouth and Harwich, Scott. So they really, as you were talking about, really picked the perfect time to sort of get on that run, and they got the job done. It gets a very tough competition.
I mean, I'm looking back at it, and because I remember I was down here for all the playoffs and found out that for the playoffs they had all the games on the radio. So I listened to every game, which was pretty entertaining, considering how it all worked out, because they lost game 1, and if they were going to, and they couldn't lose another game in the first series, so then they had to win 22-2, or they won 22-2.
I remember reading about that. Game,
which was just like, okay, that works for us. And then game 3, we shut them down for the last 5 innings. And one of the relief pitchers actually ended up being the playoff MVP.
Oh wow!
Casey Schmidt. He just, every time he went in, he would shut down the other side.
Way to go, Casey.
Way to go, Casey.
Casey, it's not Casey at the bat, but Casey on the mound.
No, not Casey at the bat. Hopefully
Casey on the mound.
Hopefully he actually threw a bunch of strikeouts, like, instead of being on the other side of it and getting struck out. But
yeah.
But yeah, I remember listening to all those games. I was wearing my Kettleer's hat at work that entire time.
Yeah, I was gonna say you ducked out for the occasion tonight.
I've worn this shirt many times. I think the previous time that they won, I think I was at playoff games in 2013, and we drove out to Bourne, Orleans, or whoever they were playing that year. It's 7 years ago, so it's been a while.
Well, it's funny, Scott. I was going to ask you because obviously Kyle and I have talked many times about the Cape League and our memories of the Cape League growing up and stuff like that. But let me just get to your take on not just from this past season, but just in general, sort of your memories of watching Cape Cod baseball through the years.
Yeah, I used to actually stand right behind the backstop to the right of the catcher, or to the left of the catcher, which was conveniently right next to all the scouts too. So the stands that you and I, or the 3 of us sat in, that was the first time I had sat in the stands, maybe ever.
Oh, wow.
Because usually my family goes with their dog, and then we would go with our Cape friends who are our next door neighbors. He and I were reminiscing about the Kettleers earlier this week.
Nice.
And we'd all just stand there and watch, because then you can see the whole field from right behind the the backstop, and yeah, we've been going for, I don't know, 20 years, I guess, to Kettleer's games, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. You run into Cotuit's a small village of Barnstable, so you'd end up running into almost every single person that you knew in Cotuit when you go to those games, because as the day winds down, it's like, oh, let's all go to the Cotuit game, and then after that was dinner and so forth. But I don't know, it's always fun because it's free.
Yeah.
It's a nice field, even though they can't play night games.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I remember as a kid, we used to run into the woods after the foul balls, because if you got a foul ball, they'd give you something out of the shop for free.
Wow.
Nice.
Because or it's either the shop or the food stand, because I don't know, it just gives them the ball back.
There you go. You go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had this hat for, I don't even know how long. It's a kid's hat that somehow still fits my head. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything more about the size of my head, but yeah, it's always a great time. And I mean, yeah, they won in 2013. I remember that one fondly, and they won in 10.
Oh, wow.
So since I've been going, they've won 3, and now they're tied with the Celtics for 17 championships.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have had a great history in terms of success in the Cape League, those Cotuit Kettleers, and like I said, they added to it with that victory in 2019, and hopefully they can get right back to their winning ways come 2021. When the Cape League resumes action.
Yeah.
So, obviously it's going to be tough this year not having any Cape League games to follow, but at the same time, it gives you something to look forward to for down the road. So that's all. You just gotta think optimistically about it, I guess. But yeah, so we're gonna sort of start to wrap up this episode, and as we always do with our guests, Scott, I wanted to give you a chance to sort of give some final thoughts about anything that you choose, any topic that you so choose. Just sort of some final thoughts as we round down our episode.
Yeah. So, I mean, since you've made me start thinking about the Cape League again, I think I went back through and realized that actually Kettleers had the MVP of the 2019 season, the playoff MVP of the 2019 season as well, which is probably what helped them at least somewhat offensively and pitching wise. And then another thing I went through was all of the players who once played in the MLB. And you go through and you're like, wow, so Mark Bellhorn used to play on the Kettleers.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Joe Girardi used to play on the Kettleers. I remember seeing Yaz's grandson before he was on the Giants playing on the Kettleers. And just it's pretty cool to see that you never know if these college students are going to make it to the big leagues, but every single time that players on the Red Sox are doing well, I always remember the YD Red Sox are like, hey, look at our guy Chris Sale still doing so well in the Red Sox. And you're just like, hey. So hopefully the Cape League comes back in 2 years, and they're not like some of these small businesses that have to decide to just close down. And
yeah, I hope not. That would, that would, yeah, that would be really disappointing. I don't think that they will, from what they're saying.
No.
But these days, you just, you can't never take these things for granted, unfortunately. But think positive thoughts.
I am thinking positive thoughts. It was,
yes.
it's always special. You just, a bunch of college kids just get to come to Cape Cod, stay in some host family's house for the entire summer. So they're in Cape Cod for free for the summer.
Oh, yeah.
They get to play baseball, get scouted by the MLB, and hey, sometimes they make it. So
absolutely.
It's unfortunate they don't get to have it this year, but I'm looking forward to it, as always, in 2021.
Absolutely. Where, like I said, it gives us something to look forward to for for going forward. So, Kyle, I'm now going to turn over to you, as always, for another edition of the Sue's Reviews. What have you got for us this week?
Okay, so today what I wanted to do is I wanted to actually review something that I haven't reviewed yet. So you guys heard me, talk about video games and movies a lot, but I haven't really talked a lot about music. So I wanted to see how this kind of goes. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring up one of my favorite bands. I have the vinyl here because I have my vinyl collection in front of me, but they're called the Cat Empire. And this particular album is called Rising with the Sun. And honestly, I think it's a very good album. So just a quick little backstory. These guys are an Australian band. They play a lot of kind of world music meets like contemporary. They'll add pop, hip hop, and jazz in there. It's a very eclectic mix of styles, and they have like a horn section. So they even have a little bit of like, because of the horn section, they throw in a little bit of ska as well. And they're honestly one of if not my favorite band of all time. They're a very great bunch, and they have a lot of great albums. And this particular album is just fantastic. It's one of those bands where I think you can even jump into here if you wanted to listen. If you want like a starting point, I think this is a great jumping point. This album came out in 2016, and it's one of my personal favorites of theirs too. So I highly recommend it if you guys really are into world music, jazz. If you even have a slight, if you're even just a little bit into that stuff, I highly recommend listening to them. So maybe I'll in the future talk about some more albums, but by them. But yeah, no, just if you're looking for a really solid music recommendation, especially during these times, if you're bored and you want to go on Spotify and you've listened to all your other CDs and all the other artists, so yeah, I think these guys are a great point to start on. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Kyle. Definitely we'll have to give them a listen. So now it is time for my final thought. And my final thought was that late last week, was the NFL draft. Definitely a nice little sort of escape from all the news of the world today. And nice to see some sort of sense of normalcy come back with, the annual NFL draft. And, it was virtual this year, which sort of added an element to it. But I actually thought that it went off really well. I mean, I thought that the way they handled it virtually was really cool. And I think they put a lot of nice touches on it. And I personally really enjoyed it. I mean, I watched parts of all three days of it, and just was very excited to see, who was going to go to what team. Was very excited for A.J. Dillon, running back for Boston College, who got drafted by the Packers in the 3rd round. So very happy for him. And, yeah, like I said, just a nice little sort of break from, just what's going on out there, and just to, have sort of something that, is is normal and sort of that we've become used to watching over the years in the absence of more live sports right now. But yeah, I was just very happy to see the NFL draft back, and like I said, the virtual aspect was very interesting this year, and I enjoyed it, and so hopefully we get real live football, back coming up in the fall. You just never know these days. But thinking positively, thinking optimistically about it. But yeah, so that's going to wrap up our edition of On Account Talking Sports. Scott, thank you as always for joining us.
Thank you for the invite. This is my 3rd now, I think.
Yes.
So
yeah,
it's always fun to talk some sports with sports enthusiasts or fanatics, whatever we want to call ourselves.
Exactly. We'll always have fun having you on. And yeah, so as always, for Kyle, I'm Robbie, signing off for On a Couch Talking Sports. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.